Hey jugglers, I'm Bailey Cichon. I'm a new member of the juggling community, and I have a lot of questions. The 441 is the show where I assemble a panel of jugglers to find answers and to inspire you to continue the conversation. This is the 441 on the art of the juggling video. Fittingly, this is the first episode of the 441 that's on video. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and you're able to watch this episode on video at ejuggle.org, I would highly recommend it. There will be juggling videos playing on the screen throughout the episode. If you're not able to watch right now, I hope you come back to the video version when you're able to. I'm going on 2 years of being a part of the juggling community. So the ratio of jugglers versus non-jugglers that I follow on social media is starting to skew more and more towards jugglers. So I've been watching a lot of juggling videos lately. And there are some creators that really stand out, not only for their juggling talent, but for their ability as video producers. And I'm really excited for this episode because it's the first topic on the 441 that I actually have some expertise in. Video production is a part of my 9 to 5. So I've been interested in how some of the more cinematic juggling videos are produced. And through this conversation, I learned where juggling videos started in the early days of YouTube and how today's jugglers think about content creation. Heads up, there's some video in this episode that I do not own. So if it's not a TikTok where there's a watermark with the creator's handle on it, I've cited in the upper right-hand corner where you can find the full videos. Please give those creators some well-deserved views on their channels. Let's get into the art of the juggling video. 441 listeners, I have assembled a panel of creators that I am so excited to talk to. Their work speaks for itself. You're about to hear from Tim Walker, a phenomenal juggler and content creator, Lisa Ellipse, the IJA's marketing director and owner of Elliptical Productions, and Taylor Glenn, professional video producer, and the juggling YouTuber you might know as Taylor Tries. This conversation will delve into the artistry, methodology, and inspirations of our panelists. We'll watch some of their work in videos that are important to them, and we'll talk about how jugglers can get started as content creators. To start, I want each of our guests to tell me what came first. Was it making videos or was it juggling? And let's start with Lisa. Tell me your story.
Juggling definitely came after videos. I started off just as a sort of traditional hula hooper, hula hooping on body tricks. And yeah, I hadn't filmed or edited anything at all. And I got into it just from like kind of wanting to film my progress with hula hoops and what I was doing with the tricks. So it was just sort of like filming videos just to show my friends and family on Facebook. Some of them, well, yeah, all of them were like terrible videos. They were just way too long. Like one was like 12 minutes long of me just doing like the same trick and over again with like different filters on. And I was just like so proud and sending it and like tagging everyone in it, like, look what I've made. And I think that really did shape like how I, improved on it, because I was always looking back on these videos. I just realized that I really, really liked it and I really enjoyed it. And I just got, yeah, a buzz out of sort of like, oh, where are we going to, finding a film location? Where am I going to film? Like, how do I meant to look? Is there a storyline? And getting people to help me as well. Yeah, no actual formal qualifications for that. Just sort of having fun and experimenting. Then when I started to realize like I'm really enjoying this, it's hard setting up the camera and then being in front of the camera and then editing as well afterwards. I want to try doing it for other people. So I sort of was just doing some free videos for people, like, let's go out, let's do a film shoot together, like show off your skills, you don't have a video yet. And it was sort of like a collaborative thing with friends. From there, it's really just progressed to like, oh, I'm really enjoying this actually. Like, let's, maybe people do need show reels. Like, let's put some show reels together for people. Let's just charge like a really small amount just for my time. So kind of naturally progressing, but still no juggling at this point. It's thanks to Callum, my performance partner, that got me into juggling. And then it's like everything's starting to fuse together. Like, okay, juggling has its different limitations with filming and how to make it look good and how it's important to the composition and what more can we do with it, and spiraling from there. And then I was professionally performing, so I'm needing good content, high quality show reels, and and edits to send out to clients and to keep up the social media presence online. Then COVID hit and I became a teacher online. During that time, I also kind of wanted to keep up my video editing skills. So it turned into like a lot of TikTok stuff. So I was doing like kind of like hoop transitions on TikTok. Then I went really viral on there. Like one of the videos hit like 25 million, and then the next were like 2 million, 3 million. And it was kind of, it was his own thing going on. And I was kind of happy because although I was teaching, so I wasn't performing or, technically being paid to make videos, there was still this like creative side that was kind of like supporting this journey, like whilst I was a teacher. And then the teaching job kind of fell through, and I gave myself like a time limit of like 6 months, and let's see if I can actually like get a career in video editing. So I was applying to junior roles, and the cool thing was that I was able to use the TikTok work alongside the kind of other work I'd done previous to the pandemic to be like, here's my portfolio. So although it was kind of like some fun, it was like, oh, okay, it's relevant, and it's helping me. And within a month, I got my first video editing role. As a junior editor, and then within 4 months I was promoted to a full video editor, and then it's been like that since then. So yeah.
That's super cool. And didn't you tell me that you were taking classes and like your job was kind of providing some of that education for you?
Yeah, so in the junior editor role, they fully funding courses. So I've done like kind of color grading course, motion graphics courses. These have been like multi-day courses, and then also like a lot of online ones as well. Yeah, and then I suppose I was also kind of like teaching myself stuff. Like that's just been a constant throughout the whole thing.
Thanks, Lisa. Taylor, what came first, juggling or creating videos?
Juggling for sure for me. I learned how to juggle, and then like many people, like, oh, I did it, and then I got back into it a couple years later in high school. And I don't know why, but I saved up for, like a camcorder because, phones weren't good back then. And I remember it was like $500 camcorder. I was so excited. And so I needed an excuse to film stuff and make stuff, and juggling was perfect for that. And I was really inspired by a lot of juggling videos that were getting put out by really good jugglers. And luckily, YouTube at the time was so like there weren't expectations yet, so it was completely fine to just post something and not feel like it had to be good, luckily, because otherwise I wouldn't have done it. And it kind of became a really weird symbiotic relationship where I definitely was only editing and filming videos because I was juggling, but also I think that it was my motivation to juggle was so that I could make a cool video. And that has definitely been a through line throughout my my life. So yeah, I self-taught most of my video and editing stuff up to a certain point just by making dinky little juggling videos. And they're still up, most of them, except for ones that got taken down for copyright and stuff. So I know some jugglers that have been around since that time, they like took down their videos because they're, I don't know, embarrassed by them or something, but I think it's great. I love looking back and seeing how far I've come, both in juggling and in editing and video making. Like my first juggling video, I think, is just me in a park, like one shot, just cut up. And now I can make really intricate stuff with fancy edits and everything. So yeah, I don't think I would have gotten into film and video and editing without juggling. It was such a great playground to get good at it. Eventually went to film school. Um, I got a film studies degree, and then I worked in LA in editing, which was great because even in film school, I only took one editing class, and it was not even in the software that I ended up using in my job. So it wasn't very useful. Luckily, all of the edits that I had done for juggling, like trial and error of learning how to edit and make stuff. And then I was able to do that for like 8 or 9 years as a career until it eventually turned into the internet Taylor tries thing, which is a whole other thing.
I'm glad to hear that, my experience in journalism school with having one class period on lighting, uh, yeah, I'm glad to hear that's
Pretty
not just my school with the quick run through of, oh yeah, this is something that's like super, super critical to like your shot looking really good, but one class period. And it's
Yeah,
an elective class, not everybody's
yeah,
required to take it.
exactly the same. Yeah.
Tim, you also went to film school. Tell us first, though, what came first, juggling or creating videos?
For me, it was definitely creating videos. It's funny though, because like before juggling, I was extremely deep into like parkour and free running, which was very young at the time as well. And so those were the two things that like really started up at like the same time for me. At the time, it was very much like skate culture where like there were these cool like fisheye looking like videos happening and about with like parkour as well. And so I was just wanted to like record and make videos like that. I did that for a while, and that's where I like really got good at filmmaking because I did that for like, I don't know, like 7 years before I even knew what juggling was. I didn't even really know it existed like that. I knew the basic cascade existed, but like other than that, I didn't know it was like a whole like cultural thing. So by the time I finally got into juggling, which was like whenever I first went to university, there was like a juggling club there, and then I joined that because I had already known the Cascade, and they were like, "Whoa, people usually don't know that already." But yeah, that's like where the filmography stuff all started, and then juggling just kind of came in.
This is a great segue into my next question. And I know I've talked about it on the show before, but I just really like bringing up this topic with jugglers because I think internet culture is really fascinating. And then it leads to things like Taylor and Kate Great showing me the Badgers, Badgers, Badgers video. Super fun. What was the internet like when you first started watching or creating juggling videos? I'm gonna have Taylor start with that.
Yeah, it was new. Like, and the internet, I suppose, wasn't, I mean, it was still relatively new, but YouTube, I remember when YouTube came out. So my account, I think, was started within 6 months or something of when YouTube happened. Yeah, it was just small. And I remember it was actually a wonderful time to be a juggler, in my opinion, because I think it kind of still exists in Instagram and stuff, but there were only a handful of people making videos on YouTube for juggling, and you all knew each other, and it was just like very supportive. The idea of somebody being like a troll wasn't even a thing yet. Like people were just, oh, that's so cool. Oh, yeah. And like you felt like you had friends. And that definitely exists now. Like I have made friends on Instagram that I've never met and things like that. But there was something so new and magical about that back then that it just, it wasn't even a concept that felt like it could happen. So it was amazing to make all these friends and that were like the OG YouTubers for juggling. But yeah, the internet was just kind of a wild west. It didn't know what it was doing yet for video. There was jugglers were just kind of making compilations and not thinking about money and YouTubers in general weren't thinking about money. People were just putting up weird crap. I mean, I don't think it's changed a lot in terms of the weirdness of internet culture. It's still weird. It's just changed its format. And like, I'm starting to get into that age now where I'm like, I don't understand these jokes from these kids. Um, and so we definitely had that as with the Badger, Badger, Badger video. If people don't know what that is, it was just that time in YouTube when flash animations and stuff were being made and they were just stupid. So stupid.
You were talking about the small community of jugglers. Could you give some names of the folks that started on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll forget a bunch, but I remember the Go Heads. His name was Steve. He was a juggler. He doesn't juggle much anymore. He was from Vegas, and he really inspired me with like tutorials. He made a lot of free stuff like that and had a great way of approaching things. Chris Taby was another. He was a school teacher that would make great tutorials. Obviously, there was like Wes Peden and Vova Galchenko, you know, just being amazing already, even though they weren't. I think Vova had already kind of like peaked, but West was definitely not the West that we know today. It was fun to see him grow. Um, And just a lot of, there's like Manuel Rospigliosi and Megan Newis and Laura Ernst and Kate Great and well, and just all these, a lot of them still around, but it's funny how many of them don't make videos anymore. Yeah.
We want to pause and watch an old Wes Peden video together. Let's do this one.
Yeah, this video I watched so many times. Like I think I downloaded it and put it on my iPod. My little iPod video back in the day.
I really like how it's off center, or like the basketball hoop is the center of the frame and you have like the parallel lines and all that stuff. It's nice to see that kind of stuff really early as well.
Yeah,
But
and a lot of people weren't doing it. Like
Mhm.
I don't know where he got that.
I really like the locations as well. I feel like that's really iconic of like juggling videos, to sort of choose these like really kind of like, grid line type like backgrounds, or just like there's like a tractor thing. Like it's just,
Yeah.
like that's just, it's just, I think it's quite iconic of juggling videos to sort of like do some cool tricks in front of like a strange background. It's not glamorous at all. It's really cool.
Yeah, his framing and just attention to like editing and composition. Like he knows when to cut and when to stay on a frame, and when to tilt the camera. And I'm sure he would say that he was just kind of messing around, but he has like an absurd inherent understanding of all of it. And yeah, like as a wee juggler, I was like, and I watch my videos from then, and it's just so much of it is emulating what him and like Michael Karras and other jugglers were doing at the time. I was just kind of ripping them off, which is, people do that to me now, so it works out. It's the process of video making. It's great.
I love him exiting the shots too. So smart. And when I was trying to pick people for this conversation, I think there could be an entire juggling podcast dedicated to featuring video creators, because there are just so many incredible people doing this work. But I like the group that we have here today. Maybe we'll do a part 2 with some other folks. Tim, you also shared kind of an earlier juggling video with me. Do you want to talk about, like, introduce the video, and we'll do kind of like a show and tell?
Even early on into like my juggling career, it was really just like I started out with like poi, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I did ball juggling for a bit, and I was like, all right, this is cooler. And I like made these really janky clubs. These were like DIY clubs. I wish I had a picture of them, but it was like, imagine like this like water jug with like a wooden dowel. So yes, it did hurt my hands. And it had like door stoppers on the ends of it. It was in like a half cut tennis ball with a screw in it on the top. It was crazy, crazy stuff. But I started doing clubs, and I was like, oh, this is where it's at. And like pretty immediately on, I was like, okay, I love club juggling. And so I was trying to like find like club juggling videos, and I couldn't find like a whole lot that were like that really like scratched my itch. And then I finally like happened across uh Bosch Lawash. And after I saw like his like club manipulations and everything from this video, I believe it was called Visual Juggling. It was just I watched it over and over and over again, and it had a huge like influence on like my style from there on, which I would probably consider like more contemporary style of juggling. So yeah.
Yeah, Tim, I definitely see the influence on your style, like 100%.
Yeah, it's there definitely.
What did you pick up from that? Like, were you watching that video trying to figure out how he was doing things, or like what was so inspiring about that video?
I think it was because I had been to like quite a few like juggle meets at this point because it would have been like 2 years into like my juggling, but I had never ever seen any type of juggling like that anywhere at all, not even like an inkling of it. When I saw that video, it just like really like lit me up, and I was just like, yeah, this is scratching my itch. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to move. And I was already coming from like a already like dynamic sport, so I wanted to be more dynamic with my juggling. I didn't want to just stand in one spot and then do a trick. I wanted to like incorporate my body a lot more.
Yeah, can you talk about parkour videos and how watching those and filming those has influenced how you make your juggling videos?
Yeah, it was so for parkour, it's such a dynamic sport and there's so much movement. It's really hard for like the camera person to like keep up with all the movement that's actually like happening. And so you have to really get creative with how you're shooting things. Usually you have to like do a line twice, or you have to have like a two camera setup or something, because usually the lines are just like so long, so huge, which is like the polar opposite of what juggling is. But my brain was already in tuned with like how to shoot parkour stuff, that I was like, oh yeah, I have to get a second angle of this same trick and do a match cut with it. Oh yeah, I have to like, I don't know, shoot like a wide angle one and a really close up one. It's just like it was like intuitive to me. But yeah, I think that's like the main influences that the parkour filming had on my juggling filming.
Hey, it's Bailey here. Yeah, I don't think you need to go to school for video production. In fact, there's a lot that you won't learn in school. So you're going to be supplementing that education with YouTube tutorials and online forums and just picking up things from creators that you see on social media. If you're interested in making juggling videos of your own, we get into some of the nitty gritty of that in part two. So stay tuned. I think it's really cool to see where juggling started on YouTube. In episode 2 of the 441, which was the 441 on finding other jugglers, we talked about rec.juggling and forums and the early days of juggling on the internet. But we didn't really get into those early creators. And I think Taylor has such a great perspective as somebody who was there and also making content, not just an audience member. One of my Facebook friends posted something today that was screenshots of like celebrities' Instagram accounts from probably like the early 2010s. And it was kind of a commentary on celebrities back when they used to post selfies and not superposed photos, and it was real and it was cringy and like bad and over filtered and like what? And today, social media feeds are curated and focused on aesthetics, and the standard for content has gone up and up and up. And I wondered if that had bled into juggling videos as well. Do you think it's intimidating for people who are wanting to start making videos to try to break into this super oversaturated space that is, videos on the internet?
I would think so. I mean, I can only imagine because I'm not in that scenario, but I just like, I look at, for example, it's not just saturated in terms of content, it's saturated in terms of like what kind of camera should you use, what kind of lights. Like everyone has professional setups, it feels like on the internet now. So it's like just the barrier of entry of, yes, everyone has a camera on their phone, which is great, but there's also all this expectation of like having things look really nice, having things be polished, having editing. Like the standard has gone up so much that even that accessibility has made this in uh, an equal feeling. And yeah, and then on top of that, the fact that like juggling has gotten just incredibly good. And now we can see it. Like because of that sharing of information, it's just pushed it higher and higher into this like ungodly level. And there's also like a weird mentality now where people get kind of mad if you're wasting their time or something. It's kind of a complicated subject, but yeah, there's a lot more like that feeling of like you don't deserve to be posting if you're not showing me something incredible. And so I think that is also just not that's not something that ever would have occurred to me. Like you wanted to do new tricks that you hadn't done before, but it wasn't like I felt like somebody was going to attack me for it. If they didn't like it, it would be like, oh, go to the next video. So it was a lot less intimidating from an equipment standpoint, even though it was harder to get just a camera, but it was a lot less intimidating from a money standpoint, from a view standpoint, from the quality of actual tricks. I think I would not post now if I didn't already have those skills.
That's really interesting. Lisa, as somebody who has found success on TikTok, what's your perspective on this?
Yeah, I think it's interesting hearing that stuff just because like I wasn't really posting actively on YouTube during these times that Taylor's talking about. So my experience is like that it I can see why people would be scared to post and feel intimidated because I wasn't expecting that to happen, and it is like it can be quite a negative space that you're putting yourself out into. And even just like as the initial video started going viral, I had a lot of like people find me on Instagram and like take like zoomed in screenshots of my video to be like and sending me private messages of them being like, I can see where you did the edit of the transition. It's not a real transition. It's not an in-camera transition. And like they've taken like proper zoomed in screenshots of like my editing mistakes and stuff. And like so I was kind of thinking like I mean I knew I made those mistakes and I still post it anyway because I was like overall I like it. Like I like the effect. The mistakes are so quick, like frame by frame. I don't really care. Um, but also then looking back on that, I realized that helped it go viral because people are like saving it and downloading it. And then so like it's like a strange thing because like you're basically putting yourself out there to like so many people to give you hate. And there was like lots of comments about stupid stuff like my weight and then people debating about my weight and like how I look as well as like my editing mistakes. And all of this stuff is helping me to go more viral. Um, but I had this feeling afterwards of like I just didn't know what to post next because I was so overwhelmed, like with all these like messages coming in, and I'm like, I felt like, oh, I need to post something even better than that, and like I felt really like a lot of pressure, and like, and then so I just decided not to post because I'm like, no, I'm not gonna let these people like dictate to me like anything about what I'm gonna do, you know. So then it just felt like people were expecting, they're like messaging me, when are you posting again, like there was comments like when are you posting again, like all these followers, and I'm like, this is really overwhelming. Like if this happens to someone, it is actually a really overwhelming experience, and like people bystanders are seeing this happen, and I'm wondering, do they feel like confident enough to just post something out if something's like a little bit imperfect, or they're just, it's scary posting it out there to all these people. So I think that definitely is a limitation, feeling intimidated to post. And it seems like from what Taylor's saying that people could be a bit more imperfect. Like I don't think there was any issue with like someone privately messaging you being like, hey, like that shot isn't, you know, anything like that. It's just so, yeah, yeah. That was my experience anyway. It's strange.
Similar, I relate.
Yeah, Tim, have you experienced that?
I don't know if I've like directly experienced anything like that. I think my filmmaking was good enough to the point to where I could probably cover up how bad I was at juggling, and I had already known from like getting to such a high level in parkour that I was like, oh, well, you have to be bad to get good. You can't just jump straight to being good. That doesn't make sense. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna record myself trying to get better. And usually I like to use my videos as time capsules for myself as well. So even if the entire world just hates what I'm making, I can still look back and be like, well, these are my like visual snapshots of my life. you can't tell me that my life sucks. Well, I mean, you could, but I don't care. But
I think that's like a natural, like I do the same thing. I share pretty shamelessly my progress. But do you think, Lisa and Taylor, that there's more pressure for female content creators to be perfect right away?
Yeah, that's hard to say. Go ahead, Lisa.
I think there is. I definitely feel some kind of pressure. Yeah, I think there kind of is, especially like I don't know if I care as much anymore, but like when during that time with TikTok, I think that was definitely feeling the pressure, like from always, like about making more content about what the content's going to be or what I might wear or like how I'll present myself. And I think there is a lot more pressure and yeah, a lot of crazy comments and a lot of crazy, yeah, things to deal with, I'm sure. Taylor
Yeah,
can.
I think it's one of those things. I think about this a lot, and it's one of those things where it's like, in general, I think to be a creator, you have to be somebody who like has an intrinsic motivation to do it, ideally, and doesn't let comments like stop you and anything like that. Like, and I've met plenty of female creators that like have figured out a way just to not internalize those at all. But I do think it's regardless of whether they affect you or not, they happen more. Like it is just more of a, there are more people trying to tear you down for
Mm.
various reasons, and they will find a lot more nitpicking reasons to do that. It might not be necessarily like the quality of the video or the juggling, although a lot of the times I think it actually is. There's like a higher standard sometimes set, but you know, it can be anything like your appearance that day or like your weight and things like that. Just things that I don't think often even occur to male creators. Like, you know, like the amount of times that I've wanted to make a video but been like, my hair is ridiculous looking or like just slightly off in a way that I know that I'm going to get like a bunch of comments for that. It's like, can I, like, having to just mentally be like, do I make that decision intentionally? Do I do it anyway? How do I handle it if I do get hate for it? What clothes am I wearing? Are they going to show weight in a way that's going to make people say something about it? And again, maybe that doesn't matter, but I have to like think about that ahead of time. And all
Yeah.
of those things are just things that prevent, you know, even just like, oh, I'm wearing a tank top and it's a low cut tank top. I have to think about picking up, like leaning over, like just these things that add up in your head as you're trying to make content and thinking about the different ways that you're going to get comments. And yeah, it's so easy ideally to be like, just don't think about them. But like, it's hard to explain, but like you do. It's just,
It's still always there and you're thinking about it before and then you're thinking about it during the process and then you're looking back on your footage and you're thinking about it again and
yeah,
then you're considering am I posting this or not, so it's always like, and for to be creative it's like kind of taking you out of that creative space.
yeah,
It's not really spontaneous anymore and it's not like you're it yeah, it's definitely an extra thing to think about all the time really.
yeah, I think so. But I think that, you know, in general, I think people get, the bigger you get in general, you're going to get harassment and things like that. But yeah, it's like the type of harassment slightly different. You know, I remember once talking to Josh Horton about it, and he was like, "You just have to not let it bother you." And I'm like, "Yeah, but like, when was the last time you had somebody like tell you that you're like analyze the exact weight that you are and how much you've gained or lost weight?" Like, it's just a weird, uncomfortable thing, and it adds this like defense mechanism that goes up, which I think is a valid response to people
Yes.
hyper analyzing your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I hear Lisa and Taylor talk about the comments that they sometimes receive on their work, I get very angry and sad, mostly sad. And I hope that some of those internet trolls are listening because I have something to say. We have control over how our community interacts online. First and foremost, don't comment mean things. It's reductive, not additive to our community. And if you see someone being a jerk, call them out on it and tell them that that behavior is not okay. Next, people are allowed to be amateurs on the internet. Amateurs are how we get professionals. Your comments on someone's editing or bodies could lead them to stop posting, and you do not have the right to take that away from someone. In 2021, Afton Benson wrote a piece on eJuggle called "She's Pretty Good for a Girl." This piece is about misconceptions about women in juggling and ways that anyone in the juggling community can take action and challenge sexism. If you have not read that piece, I think it's required reading for our community. Go on eJuggle, stop this episode, hit pause, and go read it. Afton calls for a lot of different things in that piece, but I want to highlight two of them because I think they fit really well in this discussion on the online space. Respect. Respect jugglers in the comments and the DMs. Do not explain tricks to people or comment on their editing without being asked to by the creator. Do not comment on people's bodies, ever, full stop. Allyship. When you see something, say something. If you see someone not being respectful in the comments, call them out. Afton writes, be ready for the defensive comeback and do not back down. I've asked our guests to share some comments that they've enjoyed reading on their content. Lisa says the most enjoyable comments are the positive and supportive ones. She enjoys when people ask how to do a specific editing technique. And she especially loves when people tag her in their work after they were inspired to try something new because of her videos. Here's one from Tim. I love your videos, brother. I always learn. Thanks a lot. Funny and skillful guy. I hope that the next time you're in a comment section, you remember allyship and respect. Let's get back to our conversation with our guests. Is filming juggling difficult? I personally think that it is difficult to frame, to think about perspective. A lot of my experience filming juggling is at IJA festivals. I've volunteered as a videographer the past couple of years. I don't have really control over the environment, so I can't plan out like a very cool location. We're in a convention hall. I also consider the fact that my experience as a videographer is rooted in journalism, where we do not pose people. We don't ask people to do things again. And getting myself out of that headspace when I'm volunteering is very difficult. It's just like ingrained in how I do things. So it's like roaming around trying to find somebody doing something really cool and hoping that if they drop while I'm trying to frame them up, that they do the trick again. And is juggling difficult to film? Tim, why don't you give me your perspective on that first?
I do feel like the answer is it kind of depends. It depends on like what you're doing. Like what you said, Bailey. You're trying to like document something. You're trying to like capture like in the moment. And I feel like especially like when you're in like a conference room or in a gym and then there's like all these crazy hectic things happening in the background on the side, it's really hard to frame things. Yeah, that could definitely add a whole lot more like challenges to like recording and capturing like these like tricks and moments and within juggling. For me, I feel like typically it's usually just me by myself, just like filming whatever I want to film, or it's me and like one other person who's on the camera. So it's really just like a really small group, and I have like pretty much like full creative control, like when, where, and how, and why I want to like juggle. Like I can just go to a different location if I want to. I could juggle inside of my house if I want to. I just have way more freedom and creative control to like control different angles and like even if like I shoot something like from a weird angle and it doesn't turn out that good, I can always just like in editing just like throw it away, you know? So I would say for me, juggling isn't that difficult to film.
Lisa, you do a lot with hoops, and hoops are very thin. Tell me about filming hoop juggling.
Yeah, it's really hard. So they're a lot thinner, and depending on like how many people we're trying to film, it can be really difficult that everything well, not everything's in portrait, but if you're going like for Instagram, you're going like portrait. One person's maybe okay, like solo stuff, but then duo, you're out again, and then trio, you're out again. And then if we're like a bigger group, you're like out again type thing. So I'm always like thinking about it basically. And yeah, it winds me up. It irritates me. And even when we found some really cool spaces and we're not filming portrait, we're filming landscape, like depending on if there's light, where the light is and where it's coming through and what the background's like, the hoops can still sometimes get lost depending on what colors they are. And when you're trying to find such a big location and high ceiling location, your locations are getting limited, you know, because you're putting so many limitations on them basically. So I can't just be like, oh, let's go into this other room, or let's go down that corridor, or let's just go outside. Like it doesn't have that same effect. Like the hoops are not very good outside, and then the ceiling height, and then the color of the wall, the color of the props. So it's really, really hard.
Before I have Taylor answer, can we talk about your video Bones?
Yeah.
You pull all the stops. I have a bone to pick with you, cause you're lazy like a bone. You pull all the stops. I have a bone to pick with you, cause you're lazy like a bone. You pull all the stops.
That is such a cool video, Lisa. I love all of it. So was that one day of filming drone? How many cameras?
That was so yeah, we were in the Azores for the EJC quite a few years ago now. And basically we came across this abandoned hotel. But yeah, it says no entry, and but like everyone goes in. It's like a tourist place. So it's like we saw that, we went in, and then we just decided, so we had 7 days more after EJC to like have fun. And I think we took 3 days out of those 7 days to make that video. So all our friends were like doing touristic stuff, and we'd be like, oh no, we've got a whole day of filming to do today. So we kind of gave ourselves this job to do, just because we were like, we have to use this location. Like we have no choice, because we can hoop juggle in it, it's safe and it's abandoned, and we have all these different perspectives, and we can go up up on the different levels and everything. And it's like, we just have to do this now. So it was me and Callum setting up the camera on some of the days without anyone else helping. And then we had another friend helping to sort of supervise the camera sometimes. But it was one camera and one drone. And so it was like repeating shots that we needed like different perspectives of, and then just like making them, like editing them together. And because also it was limited equipment, because we'd like traveled over to the Azores basically. So I'm glad I had my camera there. And then my friend had a drone, and we did the drone shots, I think, on the last of those 3 days.
I love the drone shots. They add so much to it. And then
Yeah.
like I would assume the green and the yellow hoops are just what you had, but it worked really well with the space too.
Yeah, it was just what we had, but we just realized that it's actually, finally we have somewhere that's like contrasting with the hoops. So yeah, we just really took advantage of it and just made that video, and I'm really happy we did it.
Taylor, I'm going to go back to our initial question. Is juggling difficult to film?
It's funny. I am very fortunate because I think I do like the easiest, most simple, boring to film. Listening to Tim and Lisa, it's like, right, I'm really privileged with my just brightly colored round spheres that can stay pretty contained, and having to do like thin hoops. I hadn't actually ever thought of that, just because they look so great on stage, but filming them must be such a unique challenge. And then passing on top of that, it's like, sometimes I think that like I don't like passing, and I don't love other props other than balls. And I think part of that's just a subconscious gravitation of filming, because it's easier to do this one thing by myself. And then Tim, like you move so much with your juggling. That's another aspect that I'm sure, like there's got to be times where you film something and you like reach out to grab it and it gets cut off, and you're like, right, like that's got to happen. Yeah.
That happens a lot. It happens a lot.
Yeah. And like I don't move around. I'm here. Like I am the epitome of just I'm gonna do my nerdy little pattern. Um, so for me, like in terms of the juggling, I'm very lucky. It's a lot easier than most juggling types. Yeah, I think it's easier to film than many things. It's hard to film by myself, which is almost always how I film, only in like framing, because I want to do a trick and maybe it goes too high and I have to set it up, record, do the thing, and then go look at it, which makes it really hard if it's something like rare that I'm not going to be good at. I almost never do the like filming multiple angles of the same trick thing, uh, which is funny because it is such a good film technique, but I just don't do it because it seems like a lot of work. Um, but yeah, I think that once I figured out some like basic things just through trial and error, like the backgrounds, of course, being interesting and like framing and composition, but also like having them be noticeable, the objects, it's kind of what Lisa was talking about. Just having the prop disappear in the background is rough and hard. So I see people juggling, an Instagram clip and they'll be in front of like a tree and they're juggling balls. And it's like, yeah, that all you had to do was move slightly to the side, not in front of the tree, and that would have been a great video. But it's just these little things that you have to learn. So once you learn those basic things, for me, it's fairly easy to film now because I have such a basic style of juggling.
Tim, I want to ask about elements. But first, I want to talk about the Juggling Awards. This is being recorded like a couple days after the Juggling Awards voting opened, which I didn't plan at all. And I've talked about the Juggling Awards on the podcast back when Zach McAllister was a guest, and I've talked it up, and I have a spiel I'm going to give because I think it's really excellent that we have Juggling Awards. Through my work as a journalist, I have participated in and covered film festivals and different award shows. And they're so important for communities, not only because of networking and the collaboration that comes out of it, but because people like to win awards and they want to win awards. So what do? They work really hard and they get really creative. And it just elevates the craft as a whole. But I think that the Juggling Awards are really important for juggling because it's not a stage competition, it is a video competition. Hey, it's Bailey here. I just wanted to share the results of the Juggling Awards. So, Taylor was nominated for YouTube Channel of the Year, and Tim took home Video of the Year and Cinematic Video of the Year. If you want to view the full results, check out Juggling Awards on Instagram.
I think the idea is great too. I remember Zach and I had this like idea of the juggling video awards like parallel at the exact same time, right at the beginning of COVID. And we talked about it briefly and we were talking about collaborating on it, but he has good motivation to do it. And it's like, yay. But it's such a good idea. And for all the reasons you said, like one, it's more accessible than a stage competition. It just gives anyone around the world can do it. It's an opportunity to highlight different types of things. I think I had a blueprint for how I envisioned it, and that was part of why it was so hard for me to implement because it was a little long and big, and like Zach has done a great job keeping it like contained but still inclusive and awesome. And I hope to just see it grow and become bigger with more ways to motivate people. It's such an important thing, like having those things, those opportunities to be highlighted in an obvious way, especially in this time of the internet where things can get lost easily.
I really do appreciate like the diversity of like categories that are like included in the juggling awards. Like Taylor was saying, like it doesn't have to be the best filmed. Yeah, it's on video, but it's just it could just be like the idea itself. It could be the trick. It could be how good the video is. But like there's all these like different categories, and I really like how they're like split up. And I think that makes it way more accessible for like any type of juggler. Like maybe they are just really good at filmmaking. Maybe they are just really good at a trick, or they're really just super creative, but they don't know how to do the other two things. So like it's just like it gives everybody like a chance to get uh highlighted.
it's really nice to see like a project that like gives people recognition as well for their hard work in like different ways or just creative ideas. Last year, the hoop collab video that I did at IJA with all the amazing hoop jugglers won compilation of the year. And I remember like I didn't even know about the juggling awards and getting the tag for it and just being like so excited as well. Like it was like showing everyone, like it's just there's a nice feeling even just being nominated and then also winning. It's like it just feels good. It's just, you know, it's just such a nice way to celebrate others in the community. And all the people in the collab video as well, everyone was like going crazy. It's like a whole shared experience as well. It's really nice.
I was gonna say it also like does a great, like for a long time at least it felt like to me that there was this sort of like, stage is so amazing and theater and live performance, and the video is just like, well, you can film it as many times as you want and that's not that impressive. And that was really like, I hated that because it's like, yeah, I mean, true, I can just film the thing as many times as I want, but there's other things like lighting and um, composition and all these things, not only that make it better, but that affect things like I can't just film it indefinitely. Like I have to make sure I get it in a certain time and like get it on camera and all these things. It's nice to see like they don't have to be compared. They're different for and great in different ways. And I like that there's an award series specifically designed to be like, hey, film and juggling is its own thing and look how cool it is, and let's look at the things that make it special instead of the things that make it not a stage competition.
Yeah, the hardest ones for me, or the hardest category for me to vote for was the cinematic video category because I like, well, also best trick. Best trick, like I easily could have given my vote to any of those videos. But the cinematic one, it's like, oh, is how am I going to vote? Is it based on the videography? Is it based on the act? Is it the combination of the two? That's kind of how I tried to weigh it in my head. But the cool thing about this award show is that it's not a panel of like 3 or 5 judges. It is the entire community. All of that is going to be considered differently by the different voters. And I think that's great. Tim, let's talk about elements and how you came up with the idea for the video, how you executed it.
Yeah, Elements was a really fun project, honestly, and it was bound to happen, even if it wasn't gonna be like a Tricks of the Month video. I was gonna create it regardless. It was within me, and it had to come out at some point. But I'm just a little bit of backstory on it. I'm just like a really huge fan of this like cartoon show called Avatar, The Last Airbender. And in this fantasy world, they just like separated these different elements of like nature, which is like air, water, earth, and fire. And early on, I was like, well, I need a way to digest juggling as a whole. So when I'm navigating the entire juggling world, even like in the real world, I just like put different styles in these different categories in my head. Early on, I was like, okay, well, these are like windmills and like the floaty circular stuff is like air. And then like doing stacks and like stomping the ground could be like earth and like so forth. So, and so I had that in my head and I was like, okay, how do I portray this in video? And I had a lot of fun, so much fun, just like location scouting and like finding these different like areas that were like locally, like they were like no further than like 15-minute drives away from where I lived. And so I had a lot of fun just like finding those backdrops to like really drive home the message that I was like trying to send, which was just like, hey, these are these different styles of juggling. This is how I like to think about it, and I want to share that with the community.
Did you edit that on your phone? Did you edit that on a laptop? How did you edit it?
Uh, since it was a larger project, I did do that one on PC. It was on a laptop. Typically I'm usually like 80 to 90% of my videos, since they're smaller videos, they're usually like a minute long. There's like on my phone completely by itself, like, but this one was like usually if a project runs like longer than 2 minutes, it's time to like take it to the timeline on the computer. So yeah. But funny thing was I really wanted to use one of my friends like Sony A7 IIIs because he just had that one and it's a really nice camera. I like the picture profile on it, but I just couldn't get my hands on it. So it was me and my partner who was doing the camera work. She was working behind the camera. We ended up having to use her phone and one of my other DSLRs. It's like a really cheap Canon camera. I just don't have like a really high end one anymore because it just didn't serve me. Yeah, but it was funny though because I was like, oh well, I'll use my DSLR as the main camera, and it once we got out on location, I was like, this isn't working, and it so we ended up using the phone camera as the main camera, and then the B cam was my DSLR. So I was like, wow, shooting the tricks of the month on the phone is crazy, but it worked out. It worked out pretty well.
Taylor, what do you shoot on and what do you use to edit?
I shoot on an A7 III. That's what Tim just mentioned. Uh, it's a good camera. A lot of it's the lenses too. It's actually pretty old now. It's kind of crazy. I was thinking about that. Like, it's becoming more obsolete, but it still works for me. I'll shoot on my phone. I'll shoot on. I have a little tiny point and shoot as well. It's like it's that old saying, like the best camera is the one you have with you, the one that you use. So and phones nowadays, just if you know how to like light correctly and know some of the settings within it, then they're great. I cannot edit on my phone. It just I don't understand it. I feel like an old person. I'm like, why won't you just do the thing? So I have to, even if it's like a short Instagram post, unless it's, I don't know, usually I'll film them on my camera. So it'll take me less time to import it, do it on my computer, and then send it back than it would for me to figure out how to do it on the phone. So yeah, most of mine's done that way.
I also, and Taylor, I'm younger than you, so don't feel old. I can't do it on my phone either. Lisa edited this IJA video with a bunch of different props. It's like a video game thing. We'll talk about it, but she did it all on her phone, and I still can't believe it. Lisa, what do you typically edit on, and what do you typically shoot on?
Yeah, so I shoot well, it really depends. Like I'd shoot on my phone, like if that's what I have. And like for example, IJA, I don't want to take all of my camera gear over. The same when I'm like at EJC, like it depends. I have a Lumix GH4 as like my camera that I like to use where I'm not so worried about it being out and about. And then a Canon 500D, which was my first ever DSLR, and I'll take that if I want to make like a proper video where I need another camera, but also if someone steals it, I don't care either. But yeah, a lot recently has been on the phone. It's just so much more convenient. And yeah, and then I typically would like to edit on my laptop mainly, but then depending on what happens. So the thing you're talking about, my laptop was broken. Depending on what happens, I am able to just edit on the go as well using my phone on CapCut.
Are you guys familiar with Lisa's insane video that she did for the IJA?
Yes. So
Okay.
good.
Talk about this project because it is such a cool project and I love the concept, but can't get over the fact that you were doing all the motion graphics on a phone screen.
I just made sure that I used a green screen at IJA, which was like the table tennis board. So I was explaining to every person that's going to be in the video, like, we need to get some like shots of your prop on the green screen, and they'll be like, "What's a green screen?" I'll be like, "Oh no, sorry, it's the table tennis area." So they're just looking at me like, "Okay." I'm just taking these pictures, and I actually made an example edit of Callum, like to show people what I need. I'm like, look, I need some photos of your prop on the table tennis board, and then I need you to do your thing, and then this is what it's going to look like. So I actually edited that on the phone at IJA really, really quickly, and then my plan was to edit it properly on my laptop. And then my laptop was broken for so long, and I was in between jobs, so yeah, I was just like, I didn't really want to pay for my laptop. And I also didn't want to wait too long to release the video. I didn't want it to go on to like 2025 and I haven't released the IJA video and it's like from 2024. So I just did it all on the phone. And it's like quite long as well, and a lot of like keyframing and like effects, and just I just did it all on CapCut basically.
You can watch that full video on Instagram at the International Jugglers Association's Instagram page, IJA Jugglers. Scroll all the way down, find it. It's absolutely worth it. What a cool video. And with that, we've come to the end of part 1 of the 441 on the art of the juggling video. Stay tuned for part 2. Thank you to eJuggle and the International Jugglers Association for their continued support of the 441. And thank you to our sponsors, Modern Vaudeville Press and Jake Darrow, for making various pieces of this production possible. Modern Vaudeville Press is a boutique publishing company that specializes in nonfiction books about the circus arts. You can find their full catalog at modernvaudevillepress.com. I hope you come back for part 2 of the 441 on the art of the juggling video. If you're interested in making juggling videos, that episode is especially for you, so stay tuned. That's the 441 on the art of the juggling video. Thanks for listening. I'm Bailey Cichon.